Race 1 of the Prosecco DOC Dutch round gets underway in 2021. Fast start from Toprak Razgatlioglu in second. Sluggish getaway for Scott Redding. Jonas Folger set to cut through on the inside line. Backs out of it with Rinaldi moving through instead. It's side by side for the lead. Razgatlioglu commands the inside line through turn 1. They're into the northern loop. It's Jonathan Rea in second. Then it's Rinaldi in third. Redding in fourth. Folger's made up a position, but he's about to lose it. Lowe's comes through at the fourth of 4 consecutive right-handers at the start of the lap. Redding will try to recover through Distrubben, but he's got held up and boxed in there somewhat by Michael Ruben Rinaldi, and Lowe's with an opportunity here to capitalise. Folger also attempting to recover. Redding has now dropped behind Lowe's for 4th position. Rinaldi looking at Razgatlioglu with Rea breaking away at the head of the field, having recovered P1. Great action just in the first couple of turns. We're through 2 sectors successfully, and successfully it is for Jonathan Rea, who's managed to break from Razgatlioglu.
Rea's not the only one that's been successful. Bit of a moment there for Alex Lowe's in the mid-pack. Garrett Gerloff actually got as far up to 11th spot. He's down in 14th now, just lost a couple of spots. Lowe's loses that spot to Scott Redding. He's going to need to recover now. He's out there with that X tyre, the super soft tyre, needs to take advantage in these early laps.
It's a performance advantage that Rinaldi has got to capitalise on if he's to take the fight to the likes of Jonathan Rea and Toprak Razgatlioglu at the head of the field. Just watching further back as Michael van der Mark really attacks on the tail of Alvaro Bautista, and Bautista has gone down spectacularly. That is a massive incident in the background of your shot there for him, and frustration for the number 19 as he's out of the race from 9th.
Yeah, we saw a lot of crashes there in the practice session and the Superpole session this morning. Hannah Sumer with a big crash there. So for Alvaro Bautista, he's lucky to be able to walk away unhurt from that. You can see just how quick that goes away from underneath him on the run down in towards turn 8. And for Alvaro, it's disappointing as well because he's been able to have good pace this weekend.
Oh, it's Alex Lowe's has gone down, and that's through Distrubben, the first left-hander for a long time after 4 consecutive rights at the start of lap number 3.
Yeah, easy to have a crash through turn 5. And Rinaldi, he's down. That's the same corner potentially where we saw Bautista go down as well.
So Rinaldi from 3rd position, and real dramas in the early laps here in Assen. Everyone giving it 100%, but we've lost 3 of our top 10.
And we're going to get a replay now. Rinaldi, keep an eye on that 3rd bike, just loses the front end through there. And for Rinaldi, he's lucky that bike stays away from him as well, and he walks away from that, but that's going to be disappointing for Rinaldi. That's taking him out of podium contention. You can see at the front of the field, Toprak now really applying the pressure on Jonathan Rea.
Razgatlioglu decides it's time to strike into the northern loop. He comes through on Rea for the lead. Rea relegated to 2nd, and he could soon be under pressure from Scott Redding as well. Up at the front of the field, Rea makes his move at the end of the Vainslang and through for the race lead. So Razgatlioglu, having done the hard work, is going to go from 1st to 3rd here. Redding trying to come around the outside of him. Razgatlioglu defends that move, but Jonathan Rea now has a 2nd opportunity to get his head down and try and break away. Scott Redding here closing down Toprak Razgatlioglu, but it's the heaviest braking zone on this circuit, turn number 1. The dramatic deceleration that I talked about in the circuit presentation at the start of this programme, and that's the kind of area where Toprak Razgatlioglu excels, and he's able to use that to good effect to remain in front of Redding. Mere fractions in it, but Rea was the slowest of this lead trio last time around, and the gap is back down to just 1/10 of a second. And it certainly looks as though Jonathan Rea is besieged at the moment, with Razgatlioglu and Redding behind. He's broken a little bit clear coming down the Vainslang this time around, and Scott Redding's through. Redding is through on Razgatlioglu. We've said he's been looking strong in towards turn 6 and 7, and he's made his move to hit the front. They come through turn 8 now with Jonathan Rea in front, and Scott Redding newly promoted into 2nd position after a fine move to catch Razgatlioglu completely by surprise. Bit of a slide from Razgatlioglu through turn 12. That certainly compromised him and potentially lost him a couple of tenths of a second by looking at the data. Jonathan Rea has consolidated his lead out in front. It's 2/10 of a second. Razgatlioglu is now 6/10 of a second down on Jonathan Rea. Michael van der Mark still over 2 seconds back from Razgatlioglu, sits in at 4th position. Locatelli's been dropped by the Dutchman now. He's in P5, still looking for potentially his best result in World SBK to date. Jonas Folger in 6th position likewise. Garrett Gerloff now up to 7th position, through on Leon Haslam. Tom Sykes down in 9th, has got through on Myers, but his progress has stalled right there. We're watching Van der Mark, but they're side by side for 2nd position, and Razgatlioglu recovering here against Scott Redding, and coming off Distrubben. I wonder whether Redding might have made a slight error, but he's managed to recover it well enough down the Vainslang, where he picked off Razgatlioglu for 2nd position in the first place. But it looks as though it might have been an error on lap number 11 from Scott Redding, because he suddenly dropped off the tail of Jonathan Rea and is under all sorts of pressure now from Razgatlioglu. But this is allowing the reigning world champion to stretch his legs out in front, and that gap is up to over a second.
Yeah, Scott lost 7/10 of a second in the opening sector of the lap. That's the run in towards turn 5 to Strubben. You can see they're running wide again. That's going to open the door for Toprak. So Scott clearly just struggling a little bit for grip right now. We'll see if he's able to regroup and then latch onto the back of Toprak. But that gap now at the front of the field, it is stretching. It's 1.4 seconds.
Oh, that's going to be Luca Myers down in the gravel trap. And Myers, who I just mentioned a couple of moments ago, was coming back at Tom Sykes for 9th position. And clearly he's lost the front end coming through the left-handers. Yeah,
that's going to be down to turn 15. That's going to be a big crash for Lucas. Very fast through there. It's 4th gear through the Rams hook. And he's lucky if he gets away with just a little bit of a bang there, because that can be a really fast crash. That's Nazane that's gone down as well. Looks good to the last chicane.
Yes, Nazane had been promoted to 12th position after Luca Myers' crash. And so I just said that the race had calmed down after the early incidents, and we've had 2 in a matter of moments. This is Nazane falling from the tail of Isaac Viñales by the looks of things.
Yeah, and easy crash to have on the run through the GT chicane, but certainly for Nazane, he had been on course for points, and to be honest, desperately needed points as well after missing out in the Donington round. But for the GRT team, there's going to be a fair bit of work to be done just to get that bike repaired.
Scott Redding is the fastest man through the 2nd sector, and that's where he's been making up ground on Razgatlioglu. He sweeps in wide through Distrubben. He then turns it back. He makes a long straight of it down the Vainslang and sets himself up nicely for turns 6 and 7. He's got the acceleration, he's got the momentum. We ride on board with Scott Redding as he makes the pass in determined fashion at high speed through the right-hander at turn 6. Razgatlioglu now will reply on the exit of 7, but he's going to be stuck up on the outside for turn 8. Redding, though, has moved across his path. Toprak's going to get better acceleration off the turn. The kink in the road down towards turn 9 to bolt, and Redding has finally got the job done, but Toprak didn't make it easy for him.
This is where it starts to get strong for him. The yellow flags are out. That'll be for Folger's crash at turn 6 and 7. The red flag's actually out now as well. So the red flag is out, so this battle is done. You can see for Van der Mark, he saw that red flag straight away. But for Scott Redding, he'll also know that it's a little bit of good fortune for him there to be able to hold on to that spot without that attack from Toprak.
Well, Jonathan Rea can begin to celebrate his victory. It will be his 90th for Kawasaki, the most for a single manufacturer. Scott Redding will get 2nd position, and he gets off lightly with Toprak Razgatlioglu really applying the pressure there. He'd gained half a second over the previous lap, and I was really looking forward to that end of race battle. We're denied it by a red flag in the closing stages. Race 2 of the 2021 Prosecco DOC Dutch round gets underway. Flying start from Garrett Gerloff further back down the order. We'll see if he can make immediate progress. He's up into the top 5 by the time they reach turn 1. Gerloff sliding his way down the inside. Oh, he's collected Toprak Razgatlioglu, and the main contender to Jonathan Rea is wiped out at turn 1 by fellow Yamaha runner Garrett Gerloff. Over ambitious after making a fine start. Garrett Gerloff was like a bowling ball wiping out the 54.
Yeah, Tom actually made a really good start off the line and then just got himself on that outside line, but he's looked strong all the way through this weekend. He's had good, consistent pace, so expect to see him able to manage this race as well. Jonathan Rea just down the inside of Tom Sykes at this stage. Jonathan obviously with more pace and potential than the BMW, so for Tom it's really important to be able to latch on to the back of that.
Yes, Michael Ruben Rinaldi holds 2nd, and he too has burst clear of his nearest rival behind. Alex Lowe's just half a second down in 3rd position. Then it's Scott Redding, Jonathan Rea, Michael Van der Mark in 6th position. Alvaro Bautista's moved his way up through to 8th, so Tom Sykes just being picked off there by Bautista in the 1st sector of this latest lap as Redding comes from way back there on Alex Lowe's, catches the number 22 Kawasaki completely by surprise, pushes him offline. Jonathan Rea will also come through. That's unfortunate for Alex Lowe. He goes from 3rd to 5th.
Yeah, one of those instances that can happen on the run down in towards turn 8. You can have that divergence of lines. Redding able to carry that speed, make the move. Now for Lowe, he needs to latch onto the back of Jonathan Rea, try and stay with his teammate for as long as possible.
It's Rea, meanwhile, hunting down Scott Redding for 3rd position now, and was certainly all over the back of Redding, but struggling to find a straightforward way through.
Yeah, it's going to be tough as well. With everyone out there on the same tyre options, it's going to be a case for Jonathan Rea trying to see when the opportunity presents itself. Is it going to be down into the GT chicane? Able to make that move. We actually haven't seen an awful lot of moves made into the GT so far this weekend. That's good riding from Rea.
Race through on Rinaldi, Steve. Jonathan Rea is up into 2nd position, and Andrea Locatelli is going to have a tiger on his tail in Jonathan Rea very soon. Those two now in 1st and 2nd positions, running similar pace at the moment. Andrea Locatelli with the fastest lap of the race last time around, a 1 minute 35. Jonathan Rea also setting a 1 minute 35 flat. So Rea's got work to do to recover a 1.3 second deficit. Michael Ruben Rinaldi then relegated down to 3rd position. Then it's Scott Redding in 4th, Alex Lowe's 5th, and Chaz Davies making good progress. He's up into 6th position, having picked off Michael van der Mark earlier on lap 4.
Yeah, this is the move from Jonathan Rea down the inside into turn 8. Similar to what we saw from Scott Redding, able to set that move up through 6 and 7. Nice and clean. Good moving there from Jonathan Rea. The one difference is right now, Jonathan Rea out there on the harder tyre compared to Andrea Locatelli. But last time around, he set the new fastest lap of the race. It was only 0.02 of a second faster than Locatelli. Locatelli's pace in these last 3 laps has all been within about a 100th of a second as well. He's been very consistent, doing a really good job leading here.
Redding in the slipstream, in towards Harbocht. Can he brake later than Rinaldi? Yes, he can. Will he get it stopped for turn 1? Yes, he will. Sweetly done by Scott Redding for 3rd position. Bautista was half a second faster than Alex Lowe's last lap around, and he's just dived through in straightforward fashion at turn number 1 for 7th position. And the BMWs at this stage of the race largely struggling. Tom Sykes is coming under pressure now from Leon Haslam just to try and hold on to 9th position. We see Garrett Gerloff making his way through the pit lane, head in hand, shaking his head as well. And good news for him that his Yamaha contract is already signed for next season.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, at this stage, but certainly for Gerloff, he's shown the pace all the way through this season. We said in the Superpole race, a fast but flawed rider, and he still needs to iron out those kinks, but certainly he's got the potential to be an absolute star in this championship. Just seeing there as well, Michael van der Mark has just been given a track limits warning, so he needs to be on best behaviour for the final 2/3 of this race. Bautista is the man on the move though. He's out there on the X tyre, and he can make that tyre last all the way through for sure.
Chaz Davies down the inside of Michael Ruben Rinaldi through Distrubben. Rinaldi was a little bit offline compared to what you might have expected. He's not going to be able to turn it back and use his top speed advantage to come through again on Davies here, because it looks as though Davies has got just about enough in hand. So a change of position at long last, says Chaz Davies for P4. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Jonathan Rea has now got the gap down to just 0.2 of a second. That's it, Michael van der Mark with a track limits warning there, running out and abusing the green paint clearly on the exit of the circuit, and he's lost a position to Alex Lowe. So I did say that the BMWs were starting to struggle. Sykes falling into the clutches of Leon Haslam, and van der Mark clearly at this stage of the race struggling as well. Lap 11, Andrea Locatelli digging in quite nicely, but look how swiftly Jonathan Rea closes in on him in the second half of this lap. Jonathan Rea with an opportunity coming off in towards the Geert Timmer curve, and Jonathan Rea is through for the lead from 8th to 1st. It's taken him 11 full laps here in Assen, but the master is back in P1. Andrea Locatelli has led valiantly, but what a run that was from Jonathan Rea, off the Rams hook, through in towards the Geert Timmer curve. He's been pretty much the only man this weekend making that kind of move there, and Jonathan Rea does it with aplomb. Surely not. Garrett Gerloff has gone down, trying to recover, thinking about snatching one of the minor points-paying positions, and Garrett Gerloff has gone down.
Yeah, he had 2 personal bests on this lap so far in the opening 2 sectors of the lap, and then just loses the front through to Bolt. But for Garrett, unfortunately, this is going to be a race that he's going to want to forget, but one that a lot of people within Yamaha probably won't forget for a while.
Bautista trying to square off the turn, get to the inside around 3 and 4. We saw him then lunging for a slightly different line through turn 4 to set himself up for Distruben. Rinaldi is wide though, and this time it's Bautista cutting through at turn 4. Now he'll have the inside for Distruben, and that should be enough to see him through. Rinaldi's going to have the wider sweep through turn 5. He's going to make a long straight of it down the Wenslang, see if he can get tagged back on the tail and get some slipstream from Alvaro Bautista to make the repeat move for P5. The answer to that is no. Bautista's got the job done. So at long last, after 2 laps of following in the wake of the number 21, Alvaro Bautista, the number 19, is through for 5th place. What can Alex Lowe's now do on the tail of Michael Ruben Rinaldi? Sykes was certainly coming for and gunning for Michael van der Mark. A little bit of friendly bragging rights here between the 2 BMWs, and Sykes has got the job done into turn 1.
Yeah, nice clean move there for Sykes into turn 1. Van der Mark not able to use that bike on the exit then to attack back. But Van der Mark, if he gets an opportunity, will try and return that favour. You can see at the front of the field with Jonathan Rea now, 2.5 clear of Andrea Locatelli. Still really impressive stuff from Locatelli. 4 laps to go. The gap between himself and Scott Redding, it's down to 1.4 seconds now.
Yes, last lap around though, Locatelli was able to stabilise that gap as we return our focus to the 2 duels ongoing, and Van der Mark does take his first opportunity to respond. We know he's not shy, the Flying Dutchman, and through he does fly for 8th position in front of the grandstand. Locatelli's in trouble here though, and just 0.3 of a second made up in one sector there by Scott Redding. This is going to be candy from a baby if Redding can get close enough, for example, down the Wenslang. I've seen Locatelli defending well against Jonathan Rea earlier on, but Rea was eventually irrepressible, and Scott Redding is going to be the same. Goes all the way around the outside. An opportunity for Locatelli to get back down the inside, but at this stage of the race, the man with the grip, the man with the speed, and the man with second place is Scott Redding. No catching Jonathan Rea out in front, and he is now 2 seconds clear. He can just manage that gap to the finish. I think Scott Redding is going to be able to settle down this second place, but Locatelli is the star of the show as far as race 2 is concerned. We lost 2 of the Yamahas over the course of this race, and Locatelli is going to bring home a podium for them. Charles Davies 5 seconds down, then it's Bautista a second back. Rinaldi 2.5 seconds further in arrears, still close for 6th position. Actually, Michael van der Mark and Tom Sykes have now reeled those 2 in, and look at them. Oh, down. We've got a crash in amongst that group of 4, and that is absolute disaster for Tom Sykes. Meanwhile, Michael van der Mark cutting down the inside of Alex Lowe's back into turn 1 on the final lap, and Rinaldi down to 8th position. It's all kicking off in race 2 in the closing stages. Van der Mark then in 6th position now, ahead of Alex Lowe's and Michael Ruben Rinaldi. Up at the front of the field, the first ever hat-trick here in Assen. It's your record breaker. Most wins for a single rider at a single circuit. Jonathan Rea has done it yet again at the TT circuit. Scott Redding over the line for 2nd position, and that's a relief after a challenging recent run. Another 2nd place runner-up finish for the Ducati number 45, but it's Andrea Locatelli who takes 3rd position. Finally this time, the first podium finish of his career. What a fine ride it was from Andrea Locatelli.